Hey, folks, and welcome. And here we have Dan late to the party. So,
Just in the nick of time.
yeah, if you would have shut up 10 seconds earlier, we would have just gone on and it would have been.
Damn.
So, new webcam for those who missed the show yesterday. It really makes a big difference in the camera's ability to pick lighting up correctly. I think.
Yeah, you look prettier, man. You look
I
pretty.
think so. It makes me look pretty.
And what do you have to have that mic in camera view?
Because I got to work on the camera framing a bit yet. So I got to. What I should do actually is spray paint it green, and just green screen it out.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you could. I guess you could just get it green Yeti, right? So.
Yeah, you could. I got a blue Yeti.
So right, but that's the name of the company.
Is it Blue Yeti?
Yeah.
No, it's whatever. I just got back from work, so I'm cracking myself a cold one.
Oh, go right ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the mic. First of all, welcome everybody to the show. Welcome to specifically Charles Satora, Carl Crater from the Wargame Bootcamp, Paul O'Farrell, Matthew Wallhead, David Imperato, Tony from Tony's Board Life. Welcome back, William Bird, Dale Brady, Stephen Roberts, William Aarons, One True Phlegm, Doug Sunset, and Daniel Silverthorne.
William Aarons from Kitchener, Ontario.
From sunny Kitchener, Ontario. I have no idea if it's sunny. I don't even know where Kitchener, Ontario is. It could be by the friggin' North Pole for all I know. But the new webcam is a Logitech Brio. It's about $150 webcam, so it's a big step up from the last $150 webcam I bought, which was, the best webcam you could get at the time, but by today it wasn't. And the microphone is a Blue Yeti, so which I've had pretty good results with. But it does sound better if I talk directly into the microphone, right?
Actually, no. No, it sounds like you're talking in it's got a cavernous quality when you're doing that.
Really? No, I'll have to check it. I do sound tests. So, but I haven't sound tested it lately. So anyway, I did pick the topic totally at random of Wargame maps today. And I do have a couple to show off, but what I would like to ask Dan and the folks, who are watching is what makes, if you look at a Wargames map and say, ooh, that's an awesome looking map. Why do you say that? Is it just taste? Maybe it is, but what are the specific features that people like and people don't like, right? So I got a couple of examples, two of which are hex maps, and one of which is an area map. And one, let me share this.
Scott Beal says Rick Barber maps done. I tend to agree with him, but anyway.
Yeah, Rick Barber is a fabulous artist.
I love him.
Maybe pull some of Rick's stuff up as well, or I could reach behind me and pull several off the shelf. So this is part of the map from Battle Above the Clouds. This is a Charlie Kibler map. This is part of the Great Campaigns, the American Civil War series, and I love the art style.
That's very nice, man.
Even the old ones, Avalon Hill, look pretty much just as nice as this. So these are my favorite maps. And interestingly, Rick Barber did one of the games in this set. I think it was Grant Takes Command. And they do look he did them in this style, but they do look a little bit different because of, Rick Barber, right? They don't look like Rick Barber maps. They look like this, but you could tell the difference, right? Another one is Joe Youst. This is the clearest pure map shot I could find easily. And this shot includes some homemade vassal markers. These, of course, all on Board Game Geek. This is part of the map to Atlantic Wall, which I chose because these particular maps from Joe, I do tend to like a lot. Joe Youst also has done the maps for the GMT East Front series. Now, I don't know if the new one has been redone, but the old ones, I think, were done by Joe Youst.
I'm sure you could have picked a better map of Joe Youst than that, for God's sake.
Oh, maybe, but I just started looking at this 5 minutes ago. And then had to think, hey, where's Dan? I got to go make sure Dan's coming. Crap. So, and then, of course, we've got the map too. This is the non-hex map. This is one of the best looking maps I think I've seen. This is the map to Liberty or Death. It's by Terry Leeds. Did the map art. It's a really, really attractive looking map. But it's an area map, not a hex map. And that's why I picked this one off the top of my head. So, Alan Salazar says, thanks to these, he just blew $150 on OCS. So I did talk about the Library of Napoleonic Battles on the show yesterday. Hethwell says traditional hand-drawn map art, not digital made maps. Well, that's funny you should mention that because that's a digitally made map. Charlie works digitally now.
Yeah, he does.
And there's reasons to do that, right? It's not like it's just computer generated, right? He's sitting there with an art board drawing the stuff on the computer, but it's digital. Rick Barber, let's pull up Summer Storm, I think. Which is a really attractive Rick Barber map, I think. And interestingly, this particular one is Rick's game design as well. And this is a terrible shot of this, but
you can tell it's Rick Barber.
Oh, absolutely. Very idiosyncratic style, to the point where some people just don't like it.
You mean like Stigler?
Well, I've had my issues with Rick Barber maps as well, because sometimes they are a little bit hard to read. It depends on the map, depends on the game. See if we got another one here. This is a nice looking area. This is an actual photograph, though, so I'm not getting very good resolution on this. William Bird says that the maps from Victoria's Cross 2 are excellent, and that's actually that passed through my hands at one point.
Flying Pig Games is coming up with that Gettysburg, the 3 days of Gettysburg. That a fearful something.
Fearful Sacrifice, yes.
Right. I mean, I bought that game for 2 reasons. Actually, 3 reasons. Rick Barber, Herman Lutwell, and Flying Pig Games.
Herman Lutwell, the great Herman Lutwell. William Bird, I mean, maybe I'm not seeing it here. Maybe that's not a good shot for it, but I'm not getting a good sense of an attractive map in the BGG photos. I'm not saying you're wrong. Right. I'm saying take some photos of your copy and put them up on BGG so we can see what you're talking about. Jaws of Victory maps are very nice. Let's pull that up as well. Why did that not come up? Yeah, I think that's a pretty attractive map. And look at all those beautifully clipped counters too. What'd you just flash there, Dan?
Longstreet Attacks.
Longstreet Attacks is really nice.
Whose map are you showing right now?
This is Jaws of Victory. Map art here is by Mark Hinkle, who basically runs New England Simulations. This is a good point. Avalon Hill's Third Reich map, which we would look at today, and I might actually have trouble finding a good photograph of it. But this map today is going to look extremely plain, right?
Yeah, but there's still something nostalgically nice about it.
Oh, so nostalgia is one of the things that we might say that's what makes a great map. Yeah, This is like an empty hex map, man. There's hardly even any terrain. That's still true on the newer games. Although the World of War does have some forests as well, but not a lot. Last 100 Yards is another one that's supposed to be pretty nice. Liberty or Death. The new War and Peace map is really nice as well. And in fact, you got to search like this on BGG. Thanks, BGG. This is, oh my God. This is a really nice map, I think. And they're mounted too. So it's a very, we might say oversaturated. And that is a complaint that I've had with some maps before, like the maps from Conflict of Heroes. I felt them to be oversaturated, and then in contrast with the other elements that you couldn't pick out with, I can't pick out with my eyes. They was just very visually busy. William Aaron says that Kitchener, Ontario was a balmy 2 degrees Celsius today.
Nice.
So nice. Yeah, it warmed up. I went out. I was outside for about half an hour without a coat. I don't know what the temperature was, but I didn't need a coat. Well, okay, yes, Heffel's right about this. That the back to this, it is hand drawn with digital tools rather than being digital. But in that case, I'm going to ask for an example of just a digital map, and we can take a look at that. ID Jester's in the house. ID Jester, thanks for stopping by.
I'm trying to look for some.
Bandits and Tomahawks. That is a nice looking map as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this is the tools. Hold on. So I picked up one of these. This is a Wacom drawing tablet. It has a stylus, and it's just an input device. You just draw in here, and it shows up on your computer screen. It's a plug and play thing. I did have to kind of tweak it a little bit, but I plugged it in and started drawing. And and I'm not an artist particularly. I bought this for map work. But yeah, that's probably, something Charlie might use is probably not that dissimilar from that.
One down.
So what, beer?
Yeah.
Oh, that was fast.
Hey, man, I just got back from work, okay?
I understand. It's very stressful. Compass Absolute Victory. That's a ghastly map. I'm sure it's completely functional in play, but yes, it is hideous. It is a very unattractive map. Most Fearful Sacrifice, we've already mentioned. It's got to have a gorgeous double Herman Luttman. Not Herman Luttman, but it's a Herman Luttman game design, Rick Barber map. I had one of the proof copies in my hands. I did a video on it. Check that out if you want.
What? And?
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
It looks great. Anything that Flying Pig has done in recent years, at least, anything that's passed through my hands has been very attractive.
Is that incredible physically. Or what?
Maybe not magazine. I think that's kind of goofy looking, but I've never actually opened the magazine either. So the games inside might look great for all I know. But like Old School Tactical, it's fantastic presentation. Sometimes maps are just functional, and that's true. And an example of that would be that old Third Reich map. That's like, it's just empty hexes pretty much. What's that?
This is a Ivan Caceres map, I think.
Okay. I thought it was Raid on St. Nazaire for a second.
And it's Santa Cruz, 1797. Actually, I think it's his game.
Okay.
Yeah, it is his game. And I mean, it's cartoony, but you know what? I like Ivan Caceres, so I like the map, okay?
I don't want to show off ugly maps either. I mean, if somebody wants to mention an ugly map, then cool. But it's lesser known, brother.
An ugly map.
BGG is good for reference, but not every game has good reference photographs on BGG.
Is Starship Troopers an ugly map?
I didn't think so particularly. I mean, I didn't think it was ugly at the time, but if we pull it up, I mean, I don't think, let me pull it up here. I don't think that anybody's really going to hold this up as a really great looking map now.
Yeah.
I mean, this came out in 1976. So, if it doesn't look that, I mean, you got to take that into account, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's fine.
So one of the things I got sitting here waiting to do an inside the box video on is War in the East first edition from about 1974, 1975. And man, those maps are plain. There's very little going on those things. Well, I mean, there's maps that are attractive. I do like a prettier map, right? I will absolutely cop to being partial to attractive maps. and these are just old. These two, Third Reich and the original War and Peace, they're just old and plain. They were fine at the time. Nobody really complained about them, but they're just old and plain. Digital map is Helsinki 1918. Let's look at this thing. See if I can. So this is, I mean, it's clearly done digitally. I'd be a little surprised if there wasn't a human artist involved here using the digital tools. But maybe that's the case. Maybe this is just generated off a topographical map, you know, an actual period map. That's possible. I don't think this is unattractive. I think it looks pretty good.
The hell?
Star Force Alpha Centauri. Yeah, so that's a super interesting map. Not because it's necessarily a gorgeous map, but because it is, not a great set of reference photographs.
What about U-Boots map?
Yeah, that doesn't have a map, Dan. We've covered. We had a whole show about this. Remember?
Sorry.
Okay, so there isn't a good photo of this map on here. But the interesting thing about Star Force's map is that it is an actual, on a hex grid, 3D representation of all the nearby stars to our own sun. It's actually fairly, it's fairly neat for that reason. The game is not, I played the game back in the day. It's interesting, but not necessarily fun. Sacred Oil. So this, I don't know if we have a good, I've got unboxing videos of some of these games. So you really want to see the map, go ahead and take a look at that. But I'm sure we have a close-up view. Here's part of Iran on the Sacred Oil map. This is, as you can see, I think a pretty attractive map, and intentionally stylistic. It's styled to look like a map that you would have seen in period 2. Liberty Roads, those are nice. I don't think the new War and Peace map looks particularly like a computer game. I'll agree with this, but I haven't really. Bayonetta Tomahawks is supposed to be pretty good. I really have not looked at it closely because I don't know that it's for me, right? But also because I just don't have the bandwidth, right? Dinot, if he's talking about, he or she is talking about Dinot, the historical ASL module that's in the current edition of Croix de Guerre, that's a pretty attractive map by ASL standards. I don't think any of those maps are really gorgeous by modern standards. They're certainly functional. They're fine. There's nothing wrong with them, but they're certainly not. I'm not bedazzled by them, right? Edelweiss, actually. So this is actually an interesting game. It's a game on the Caucasus campaign, and it's one in a couple of game series that has a couple of volumes in it, and it's quite large. It's a very large game. If you're really into the Caucasus campaign, here's your one-stop shop is Edelweiss from Clash of Arms. The box is not very attractive, but the maps do look actually pretty good. And you can sing the song while you're playing it too. See if we have a decent shot of this. Yeah, we actually do. This is one of like 5 maps in this thing. And I wonder who did the map art for this thing. This is what I've seen. I mean, I've seen it. I've handled it. I have never owned it. So I don't know who did this. Rick Barber. How about that? Mr. Barber strikes again. It's funny. Not all the maps are full size, but it's still a pretty big map, and you can see.
It doesn't look like a Barber map.
It kind of does, actually. If you look at it, yeah, I kind of think it does. It certainly isn't his Civil War style, but yeah, I'll buy that as a Rick Barber map. That's a pretty attractive map. Matthew Wallhead says that the new War and Peace map only remotely resembles real geography. So there are some idiosyncrasies on that map, and I was willing to put up with that because it doesn't have the additional map idiosyncrasy of having the rivers run through the middles of the hexes, which is just goofy and required like a unnecessarily quirky rule to figure it out who was attacking from what side of the river. That didn't make much sense. Tony says that 24 inches of snow over the next 48 hours. I don't know what our weather forecast looks like. Personally, I don't mind getting snow, but
Are you working from home these days?
I have been working from home, yeah.
Obviously, you wouldn't mind getting snow there, big guy.
Well, I still have to go out. I'm supposed to go into the office tomorrow, so it'd be nice if we and my games, tomorrow's game night, so I would just as soon not have to drive to those in the snow. So the Veltkrieg, with the hex side terrain, that's it. Let me see if I can pull that up. That's going to be hard to pull up. Trying to pull up a good shot of that, because that you won't really see it. Oh, this is great. Yeah, this is perfect. Okay, so this is the area up by Tannenberg, right? Tannenberg and the Missourian Lakes. And you can see here that the terrain is by hex side and not by hex, which has ramifications that fall all throughout the game. It works quite elegantly. However, there are, if you also look over here by the that's a bad example. Up here on the edge, right, you start to have trouble figuring out where the hex sides are, because where the actual hex borders themselves are, because the projection is so weird. Kent Smith says saturated colors of War and Peace don't evoke the era. Whatever. It's I don't want to dismiss that, actually. I don't think it's a startlingly Napoleonic feeling map, but I think it's modern looking. Red Poppies, Ypres. That's an interesting map too. Now, I think that map is interesting not necessarily because it's pretty, so much as there's three different maps actually for the three different battles that show the same battlefield in various stages of entrenchment, and that's actually quite neat. Doug says pro artists usually use a Cintiq or equivalent where you have a touchscreen that you can draw on. Yes, the fancy people will have the fancier gear. I got the $100 Wacom tablet. And it's okay so far. It's a little flaky using with Inkscape, but it's a little flaky. Oh, Matthew says he just completed a commission for Chaosium, created the campaign map for the 6th edition of Pendragon. I wish you could show that off to us. That would be awesome, actually. And I will definitely get at least one video out of the new edition of Pendragon too. Up front, why does the map look just like his table? Because he's being cute now. Napoleon's Last Battles. That's a good call, actually. The search on Board Game Geek is not very smart. All right, this looks like it's going to be the best one. And I can think of a better example, actually, which would be Sicily, the late S&T Victory in the West Sicily game, which I think is a very attractive map, even by today's standards. This is old-fashioned, but I think this still holds up pretty well, and that's because Simonson was a great graphic designer. He had a great sense. I do not like these setup positions marked on the map. I think that makes the whole thing ugly, but put them on the counters if you got to. But on the map, I think it's ugly. To the Greenfields Beyond. That's an earlier one. That's not that much. It's actually later. I might be thinking of home. I don't know.
Who said Fortress Berlin against the odds? So someone said Fortress Berlin against the odds. I've got it here. It's a little bit grayish, but it is a nice map, though.
Yeah, this map's pretty plain to the green fields beyond. Let's see if I can pull up Fortress Berlin. Oof. That's busy. Ooh.
And yeah, it is busy.
Wow, that's busy.
It looks like a satellite picture, man, from the 40s. But
now, see the ASL maps. It kind of does. Yeah, it kind of fits the theme in the sense of it's. I mean, I'm kind of making some assumptions about what the game's about. But if it's like Berlin 45, right? The city's all bombed out. So, thematically, I think this works. But it's very gray and monotone. So ASL maps, I don't actually think it's a love it or hate it thing where I think they're fine. I think there's nothing really wrong with them. They're fine. They don't stand out anymore.
They're just functional, man.
Yeah, they're completely functional. They're not particularly hideous. They're somewhat attractive. They're fine.
It's like Combat Commander. Functional.
I assume we're talking about no. Apparently not. Could be talking about this from Critical Hit. Is there a shot of the map? This is going to be one of those hideous Critical Hit monstrosities. A lot of the Critical Hit maps are actually pretty nice looking. Whatever else you want to say about their products.
What about the no retreat maps?
So I assume we're talking about the more recent GMT ones. Let's look at the Russian front.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this map is another one of the worst. It's pretty fine. Yeah, this is pretty much the map. This is highly functional.
Yeah.
I don't know who did the map here, although it says at the bottom. It's Mark Simonich. I didn't pull up a Mark Simonich map, but I should have because I like a lot of Mark Simonich's map work. Impeccable map artist. This is not a super fiddly detailed East Front game, right? So
no. And the thing is, Carl ain't fiddly at all. He hates.
Well, I'm going to take back what I just said. I think it is actually pretty fiddly, but it's not. It's not a super fine granularity game, right? Plays pretty fast.
What's fiddly about that map?
There's nothing fiddly about the map. The map's it's the card play that's fiddly. But the map is very straightforward, right? You don't have an enormous number of hexes here. This is not Fire in the East. The map is well suited to the game itself. You're never going to have a question here about, well, I don't know what the terrain looks like in this particular hex. And that is something that you'll see, for example, in Joe Youst maps, where you will sometimes have an indeterminate type of terrain in a hex. Sorcerer. Oh, yeah. So this is, I got to find the right sorcerer here because I assume Doug's talking about the SPI sorcerer, which I now got to find. This is why BGG search sucks.
Like, did they purposely make it ugly?
No, it's just really old, frankly. That's it. So this is actually a historical fantasy game. That's what's interesting about it. So this is the map. Yeah, it's
what the hell?
It's yeah. I mean, I don't know who did the art here. There's a whole bunch of artists credited. I'd have to actually look at the game itself to figure out who's responsible for this. But I've never played this, but I believe Doug is correct in that the colors are important to game.
I don't know how the colors didn't bleed into each other, man.
Yeah. So TSR specifically was really bad at this, which is an interesting question to explore. And I think the obvious answer is they didn't care. because they were at literally at the same time. They had a cartography team, right, that would do fantasy cartography for D&D stuff. Some of which, not all of it, but some of which was really, really nice. And yet, for all of the SPI brand games that they did, unless they were able to retrieve the old SPI map, which in most cases they weren't, their maps were very ugly. Their map for Gleam of Bayonets is ugly. Their map for Terrible Swift Sword is ugly. Their map for Wellington's Victory is ugly. Their map for there's another one that I have in my head. They're not attractive maps. Yeah, this is an interesting challenge to map when you map an Ilau out, because it's all snow and frozen lakes and stuff. Tactica e Strategia. I've seen their games. That's a Polish publisher. I've seen their games. Some of their maps do look nice, but it is all, if you're going to have a reaction to oversaturated stuff, then I think you're not going to like those. William Aaron says that wargame maps are either accurate to the historical period and the strategic environment, or are modified to expedite gameplay, but seldom accomplish both. That's absolutely right. There are concessions that are almost always made in the name of making the map work better. Operation Dauntless is another one of those, like, it just kind of over, it's kind of too much. It's very deeply saturated. Let me put it that way.
What about something like the Sekigahara map? You know what I'm saying?
Hold that. See if there's a good map. There's 300 some images here.
The plot to assassinate Hitler.
That's another map that is interesting, without necessarily being attractive, right? It sort of represents this sort of virtual space of proximity to various organs in the Nazi regime. And it's interesting for that reason, and it's on a hex grid, right? But it also seems really weird. But you're not like moving guys around physically so much as you are moving them around this sort of conceptual arena in which the game is fought. It's a really interesting Dunnigan design, actually, and I think many, many years ahead of its time. You know, there's people that do this, right? There's people that redo Panzerblitz counters and sell them on eBay as well.
Yeah. Who's that guy who does the maps super huge size?
Oh, the big board gaming guy?
Yeah.
That's what he's called, big board gaming.
Oh, is that what it is? I think it's $350 per map or something.
It's pretty expensive, yeah, but they are nice.
They are nice.
That.
I'd like to see a Rick Barber that big, man. Woo!
Yeah, well, you can blow if you can get digital files, you can blow them up, but you know, if you'll probably get them printed at pretty low DPI too.
Yeah.
Russian Front is an interesting choice. Matthew says that Sacred Isle maps look kind of sci-fi, which I don't necessarily disagree with, actually. Okay, so these are the CSS and OSS games. I haven't actually looked at the OSS map, but the CSS Folding Gap, I do like those maps, and those are is that Antonio Pinar did those maps? Yes, Antonio Pinar did those maps. So we've actually pretty much stayed on topic. Flat Tops, and here's a great example of a game that absolutely transcends its pedestrian map, right? Because, you know, it's nothing to write home about. It's basically the same as Battle Line's Flat Top map. It's a bunch of ocean with some islands in it. And yet, you know, that completely works for the kind of game that it is. And it's a beautiful game. It's a great game. It's a fantastic game. It's a reason why it goes for $150. I like the Nations in Arms map, too, for that matter. Yeah, the more I look at those Edelweiss maps, the better they look, actually. Stephen Allen, thanks for stopping by. I like the Simonich 4X maps very well. I have most of those games. So these maps are not. There's serious problems on those maps, and that's one of the reasons why Total War got delayed. Is because they put too much. They revised it because it's like, man, these maps look really empty. So they created a bunch of new terrain types. They put a lot more terrain on the map, and that caused the German offensive to completely bog down. Here. Oh dear, he's going to get us demonetized.
Sorry.
Here come the Rebels maps by Charlie Kibler. A lot of people find you do get used to them. Having played one of those games, you do get used to it, but you do need to get used to it. They are visually confusing to the eye. The World in Flames maps are not that great, and the final edition. Now I'm talking about the final edition, not the final edition or the final edition. I'm talking about the final edition. Those maps are pretty ugly with the super metallic mountains. Now the collector's edition, which is really the final edition. Those are fine. Those are better, right? So, final edition in the sense of final Kiss tour, right? Same sense. I went to Kiss's like fifth farewell tour.
Did you really go to the last show?
Oh, it was like the fifth farewell tour that they did.
Okay, I think
they did 3 or 4 more farewell tours after that.
Because the last one they did, the tickets were $1,000.
Well, it wasn't that one. This would have been about 20, 25 years ago, I think.
Yeah, no.
So Napoleon's Triumphs map is pretty cool. One of the things that makes Napoleon's Triumphs map work, though, is the way you like place the little linear blocks on the map, and it all looks kind of cool and very period. Yeah, I agree with this. I agree. I think that particular map and a number of other Redmond Simonson maps do hold up shockingly well nowadays, considering they're 50 years old. 1777. We're talking about 1776 or 1777? Because I don't know what game we're talking about if we're talking about 1777. Suleiman the Magnificent. I don't know anything about this. Craig Grando. Oh no, this has passed through my hands as well. Boy, this is an interesting piece of work here. It's super weird, man.
That's weird, man.
What do the giant like gutters between the hexes mean? I don't know if that is a functional thing or if that was just an artistic decision that was made that I am not sure is entirely supported.
No, it's got to be functional.
Yeah, Matthew, I don't think it's this easy actually for a war game. Well, a hex war game. If it's an area or a point-to-point map, it's a little bit different because then you're making decisions about which points link to which other points, right? And even so, with a hex grid, you could transpose it into a digital form, and then you'll find a hex that you got to make a decision on. Can I reach this piece of land from this other piece of land that's in the same hex without crossing the water, right? You got to think about that, and sometimes that has fallout ramifications on the game design as well. Mark Mahaffey's maps, Board Game Bloke, I am in agreement with this. I actually don't believe I've seen a really ugly Mark Mahaffey map. However, I have seen some Mark Mahaffey maps that perhaps do not go as far as they could in terms of retaining maximum playability. I can think of a number of examples of Mark Mahaffey maps from games I've got, and which are good games, because that's why I have them, but which there's some readability problems on the map. That's absolutely true. Well, that's Stigler. That's absolutely right. Their maps are their maps, and Dean has a degree in cartography and still does all the maps for all the games. Well, not so. This is not MMP, okay? This is the gamers, right? That Stigler is talking about. It's because the maps from other stuff from MMP don't look like that. But the gamers maps like OCS, TCS, SCS, those and Line of Battle, those maps are done by Dean for the most part. There's one that wasn't. It was Day of Days, was actually done by Nico Escubi, and I actually strongly dislike that map. I would much rather have had a Dean map in that game.
Holy jeez, Artie. Did you see the picture on the right? Ah, well, you covered it now.
Oh, God. We're going to get demonetized. God damn it. Let's see if we've got... So this is going to be current... Well, it says World in Flames Collector's Edition, but then the map picture is an older World in Flames map. So that's fairly irritating. Now, here's an old World in Flames map, okay? And this is,
functional.
Oh, it's functional. It's super old-fashioned looking. But then when they went to the final edition, they had these sort of aluminum foil-looking mountains that everybody disliked. And the digital version, sadly, I think has these mountains. Let's see if I can find a version of the current maps, which is not that. That's not it either. This is a comparison between two different editions. This is an early edition and one of the final editions.
Yeah.
I got to make this hard for me, of course.
Well, that's where you get paid the big bucks, Artie.
That's right. The big money. The annoying thing here is that BGG lists this as the collector's edition, but then it doesn't.
No. You played World in Flames, Artie?
Yeah, I've played World in Flames.
And?
Oh, I like it a lot. I think World in Flames is probably you talk to somebody else, will give you a different answer, right? But I think World in Flames is probably the best treatment of the strategic level World War II topic that covers the whole war. And but there's some caveats there, right? It's quite sandboxy. It can go way off the historical rails. That's a design feature of WIP, so you have to be okay with that. If you want a much more constrained World War II experience, you might look at something like Totaler Krieg, which is also a good game. So we're actually staying on topic, which is weird because I didn't know.
I know, man. It's unbelievable. So
if you think about this now, you might quibble with the fact that the hex numbers. So the game. Let me pull up an OCS map here.
Matthew,
for those who don't know.
Matthew says World in Flames will be surpassed by Axis Empires in 2023.
I don't think he's right about that. I think Axis Empires is a good game. So that's Totaler Krieg Daisenso. There's a new edition of it coming out, which will be out at some point from Decision. That's a good game. It's not going to replace WIF for me. I've played it. It's good. It's not going to replace, and I'll probably buy it, but it's not going to replace WIF for me. It's a much more historical decision-driven, less sandboxy type of game than WIF is. Okay, so on this map, you'll notice, and this is the third winner, you'll notice that the map's only numbered, the hexes are only numbered in every 5 rows or rows, okay? A lot of people don't like that. They think, oh, well, I'd rather have the hex numbers in every single hex, right? That makes it easier. But it really doesn't, because what happens in the real world is when you're looking for a specific hex, you find the row, find the column, and then count down from 13 or whatever it was to find 18 that you needed. And that's exactly how these work. Now, the sort of black print gives you a kind of a high contrast factor. So the staggered hex numbering sort of stands out more on these maps, but you can't get away with not having hex numbers on these maps either. These are not those kind of games.
Did you ever see the map for D-Day at Omaha Beach?
So let's show that off, actually.
Because talk about functional.
Yeah, and it's an interesting. So if you look at this map, you are probably going to say, "Oh my God, that's the ugliest map I've ever seen." But actually playing on it, this is a relatively low resolution, so I apologize for that. Actually playing on it, it doesn't look that bad. And all these little color-coded symbols mean something, right? This is basically how the game system works.
I tell you what it means. It means you're gonna die.
The color code, yeah, that's true. So it's not as bad if you're actually playing on it. Playing on it actually feels good, but you look at a picture of it and you're like, oh God, that's hideous.
Some guy redid that on BGG, and a lot less color happening.
That's a problem, though, right? Because you're a lot of the way the game works is based on that color coding. So if you redo it to make the colors harder to pick out, then you're actually creating a playability potential.
No, it was actually if from what I can remember, it actually is really functional too.
Well, maybe. I haven't looked at it. I'm perfectly happy with the board that came with the game. It's a great game, by the way. Highly recommend it. If you're into solitaire games, Stigler, I know you're big into solitaire games. You got to pick that one up.
Come on, Stigler. Play a John Butterfield, for God's sake.
Holland 44 is another one of the Mark Simonich operational games. Those all have really nice maps. Napoleon and Austerlitz by 3W. 3W, I'll tell you what, they were doing stuff in like the mid to late 80s that was like, oh my God, that is ugly. Not everything they did was that hideous. I have very little 3W, but Spires of the Kremlin, which is a Joe Youst game with Joe Youst maps, that doesn't look too bad.
Is Joe Youst a good designer, man?
I like a number of his designs. He is not a good rules writer. I'll tell you that, and I'd probably tell Joe this if I ran into him. Joe's not the greatest rules writer on the planet, but I do think Joe has very interesting design instincts, and I think Joe has done some really interesting designs. And I happen to like a lot of Joe's games. So Kilroy of Kilroy was here, is celebrating Chinese New Year, so he's drunk on rice wine. Clouds, fire in the sky. I'm gonna pull that up, not because I have a particular strong opinion on the map. I don't think I do, but I do have a very strong opinion of this box cover, which is probably one of the best box covers in the history of wargaming. Just a great box cover. And this is, that footstool of Stigler for their terrible graphic design, Multi-Man Publishing.
No, I actually like that.
Oh, I think this is a fabulous cover.
I think it's fabulous.
So I think this is the MMP version, I think. Are there clouds on this map? I'm confused.
It looks like it.
I'm confused why there would be clouds on this map covering up the terrain. That seems a strange choice.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are clouds.
So we have already looked at Jaws Victory. Ney versus Wellington. That's a classic SPI classic. Is that the one that uses the Wellington's Victory system? There's another game that uses that system. It might be Ney versus Wellington. B-17 Queen of the Sky. Yeah, it's easy to read. There's not much going on. Yeah, honestly, you could call that map optional, to be honest.
It's like Patton's Best.
It's got even less on it than Patton's Best, actually. You could have gotten by with just not having a map and having just like a card or something like that. But that was not something that Avalon Hill was brave enough to do back in the day. MMP Samurai era game. There's a couple of those. Yeah, the Asian flavored fonts are almost typically super cringe. This is an interesting. I mean, almost nobody does this like with complete authenticity, right? If you're playing a World War II game, how many times have you seen you're playing the strategic level World War II game, and in one of the countries is called Germany. We think nothing of that. They don't call it that, right? So, there's always these concessions made. If you look at the maps to the Grand Guerre, all the countries are named in French. So, that's a concession that is made typically to, what is that? Is that Escape from Hades?
Yeah, it's oversaturated. Yeah. Like,
but you gotta draw the line somewhere. Do you put the Russian names in Cyrillic that nobody can read? So you gotta make decisions. That's why it's game design, and the game just doesn't fall out of a cloud.
I'm getting stoned on the maps, man.
Blood on the Snow. Is that a classic from Avalanche Press? Ugh. This is bad. This is bad. Who did the art? The artist. Oh man. The artist was filled with such shame that they had their name removed from the credits.
It looks like a topographic map when you're going fishing.
Yeah, this is bad. This is a bad map.
What the hell is that?
Blood on the Snow. The battle of something in the Winter War. I know that, but I don't know what much about it otherwise. It's
Seriously?
an Avalanche Press.
What possessed the guy?
Designed by Mike Benninghoff, actually.
That's Panzer Grenadier.
Well, but this isn't Panzer Grenadier.
Cow.
That's a bad map. The Lava Tie maps are pretty attractive. The Triumph of Chaos map, at least the second edition. I don't know about the first edition so much, but the Triumph of Chaos map is really nice. All the pieces are really nice as well. So,
man, how did they publish that game?
It was produced by Avalanche Press.
Okay.
Avalanche Press, a lot of their maps are not attractive, but their counters are generally fine. It's going to depend on the game, but they've got, I suspect that non-graphic designers are in charge of the graphic design. I suspect that's the case. I actually agree with this. I think the 1776 map is pretty nice, and I think holds up pretty well.
Man, if you play that game drunk, you're going to puke.
Possibly, yeah. Empire Builder, a rail game. Yeah, we don't have a picture of this on. This has been mentioned several times. We do not have a picture of this on BGG though. SPI's The China War. Oh, I remember this too. So the China War was one of my really early war games. Actually, it was part of the old S&T subscription.
Crumpled paper bag maps.
Yeah, you could see it, right? If you look at the way they did the mountains, those mountains do. What the hell?
You can't zoom in more than that, eh?
I guess not. That's weird. Anyway, you can kind of see what he's talking about here with the sort of paper bag, grocery bag type texture in the mountains. It does not look good.
Nah.
The Conquistadors map by Compass. So who designed the Conquistadors? I felt like it was a missed opportunity to call it Los Conquistadors, but I was not. My suggestion was not taken up. John Southern and Knut Grunitz.
Love that name.
Did the map, yeah, and this is a really, really busy point-to-point map. And I would be I see what you can see what he's talking about here. That sounds like maybe some rushed work there to me, but
I think a busy point-to-point is a Stalingrad Solitaire by CTP or CPP.
I've heard of that. I agree. Stigler D&D is actually a war game.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I don't know if I can find. Yeah, 1975. I don't know if I could find a scan of that offhand. Trying to get to the end of the chat here. Oh, it's Fucko. Fucko is here.
What is he saying here? Hey,
He's
Danny,
saying, what's your favorite named person? Apparently, it's his birthday today.
No way.
Apparently, it's Fucko's birthday today.
Well, happy birthday, Fucko.
I've seen that. They didn't do that everywhere, though. Avalanche Press has been typically relatively reserved in doing that kind of thing. But I have seen that they did use the SS camo in some cases. The camera is fuzzy. I don't think the camera's fuzzy. I think it's just if I get rid of this, I think it looks fine.
I think it looks fine, fucko.
So, he likes to imagine Stigler as Napoleon's old guard drill sergeant, crotchety old drill sergeant. He's that guy from Napoleon who's like, merde, when they tell them to surrender.
You know, Stigler's that guy you have in your gang there who's always negative and he's a pain in the ass, but he's still in your gang.
So when I did the William Merritts, thanks so much. When I did the anti-negativity rant, Stigler was like, "Oh, hey, you're not talking about me, are you?" And I'm like, "No, you actually contribute meaningfully to the hobby." Also complaining a lot, but thank you, William Merritts. He asks a question: have any game producers used the 1 to 50,000 scale and terrain features of the maps by the U.S. Armed Forces? Yeah, that I can't give you an example because I'd have to look, but I do know that those maps have been used as the basis for wargame maps. That is absolutely something that occurred. So, Russian, yeah, the American Russian font. We just turn the R's and the N's backwards, and that's it. That's a thing you can do. Hexasims maps. That's put that Fallen Eagles. Let's look up Fallen Eagles.
Christ,
that's a great looking
59.
map.
Hey, Fucko, I'm 57.
Oh, he's pretty old. Yeah, he's a geezer.
Do you smoke a pipe, Fucko?
No, he doesn't. He does not use the tobacco. I'm trying to find a good shot of the map, and I'm having a problem. Well, I guess we'll go with this one. And I don't think I'm really showing off the map to its maximum beauty here, but these are nice. These are really nice, attractive maps.
Well, it looks like a Flying Pigs map.
I don't think so particularly.
Wow.
I don't know who did the map art on this. Sebastian Brunel and Christophe Gentil Perret. And this is a Walter Vodovsky design. Oh, the whole series is, and it's a very well regarded series. The only downfall of this series is they've only done like 4 or 5 battles in it, and that's an issue. If they cranked 1 or 2 of these out a year, we'd be talking. Pete Bartlett says the blood on the snow. He keeps looking, but he can't see the unicorn. Like that 3D puzzle thing. If you stare at it long enough, you'd see the unicorn. That's just a plain. Is that not just a plain blue map, or is it just a gymnasium floor? I have to figure out. Yeah, you don't actually use a map for this, do you? No, that's what I thought. You don't. Jutland or Jutland.
Yeah,
the Jackson Pollock of wargame maps. I'm tempted to run down a copy of Blood on the Snow. I mean, it can't be more than $5, right? Just to find out who is responsible for that abomination of a map. The new Successors map. I haven't looked at that. I guess we're talking about the 4th edition. I hate searching for stuff on BGG. Yeah, this looks good. This is I mean, it looks good. I don't think it's blowing my pants off, but it looks good. So we're out of time now. I was going to get off. I was just about to get off topic. So the Killing Ground is nice too. That's another New England Simulations map. So those are really nice. Victor of the Pacific is a nice area improvement map. I really also like the Library of Napoleonics maps, and I would have shown a couple of those off had we had extra time here. What's that?
Africa Core by Avalon Hill.
I think that's a pretty ugly map, to be honest.
Jesus, well, it's a desert.
Yeah, well, I mean, so it's challenging to turn that map into a good-looking map, right? So, and I appreciate that. But that said, it's not a very good-looking map. So,
Hey, Carl Creeder, did you go to the chicken farm in Vegas yet?
Oh, we got on that again. So, all right. So we are out of time, folks. I would like to thank everybody for stopping by. Please check Dan's show out on Saturday and whatever else Dan's got going on. And I hope to get an update and a unboxing video out for Thursday again this week. So
Yeah,
everybody have what?
Next week it's at the tavern, Dan's house.
Okay, yes. Next week we are at on the No Enemies Here channel, so check that out. There's a link to Dan's channel in the video description, so check that out. Everybody have a great night.